Good morning, everybody. It's good to see everybody here this morning. At this time, we're going to do the verse and then we're going to do our prayer. We're coming out of Thessalonians, verse 4, chapter 9. Right?
First Thessalonians, chapter 4, verse 9.
Chapter 4, verse 9. But as in touching brothers, loving yet need not that our wisdom unto you, for yet selfishly are touched of God's to love one and another. At this time, if Sister Jessica could lead us in prayer. At this time, we're going to dismiss for Sunday school.
Okay. Judges 18. In those days there was no king in Israel. And in those days the tribe of the Danites sought them an inheritance to dwell in. For unto that day all their inheritance had not fallen unto them among the tribes of Israel. And the children of Dan sent of their family 5 men from their coast, men of valor from Zorah and from Eshtaol, to spy out of the land and to search it. They said to them, go search the land. And when they came to Mount Ephraim, to the house of Micah, they lodged there. In the days before, and notice in the days before there was no king in Israel, long before the mighty Samson, the Danites were unable to conquer the portion of the land they had been given to them, but the Israelites returned to the land. When they didn't establish their promised inheritance, they made an attempt to establish their own, sending spies into its worst possible sites. Verse 3, when they were by the house of Micah, they heard the voice of the young man, the Levite, and they turned in thither and said unto him, who brought thee hither? And what makest thou in this place, and what hast thou here? How would the Danites have recognized the Levite's voice? It is possible they detected a southern accent, since the Levite was some distance from his home. The questions they asked support such a view. It is also possible they recognized his religious order by his manner of speaking, perhaps as he was chanting a ritual. Verse 4, and he said to them, thus and thus dealeth Micah with me, hath hired me, and I am his priest. They said to him, ask counsel, we pray thee, of God, and we may know whether our way which we shall be prosperous. And the priest said to them, go in peace, before the Lord is your way, wherein ye go. These verses describe these spies' interaction with Micah's personal priest. Even though the priest readily admits that he is Micah's priest rather than God's, the spies ask him to predict their future. Rather than go to Shiloh, the place where the Israelites worship, these men go to this priest, who tells them just what they want to hear. Verse 7, and the 5 men departed and came to Laish, and saw the people that were therein, how they dwelt careless, after the manner of the Zidonians, quiet and secure, and there was no magistrate in the land, and they might put them to shame in anything, and they were far from the Zidians, and had no business with any man. And they came unto their brethren to Zorah and Eshtaol, and their brethren said unto them, what say ye? And they said, arise, that we may go up against them. For we have seen the land, and behold, it is very good. Are ye still? Be not slothful to go and enter to possess the land. When ye go, ye shall come unto the people secure and into a large land, for God hath given it unto your hands, a place where there is no want of anything that is in the earth. And there went from thence of the family of the Danites, out of Zorah and out of Eshtal, 600 men appointed with weapons of war. And they went up and pitched in Kirjathjearim in Judah, wherefore they call the place Mahanadim unto this day. Behold, it is behind Kirjathjearim. The spies returned with news that the land is good and attack could be successful. In contrast to the first spies during Exodus, who were afraid to trust the Lord to go to the land, these spies were not afraid. Unfortunately, what looks like trust in the Lord is really a justification to disobey. This becomes obvious when they arrive at Micah's house. Verse 13, and they passed thence unto Mount Ephraim and came unto the house of Micah. Then answered the 5 men that went to spy out the country of Laish, and said to their brethren, do ye know that there is in these houses an ephod, and teraphim, and a graven image, and a molten image? Now therefore consider what ye have to do. And they turned thitherward, and came to the house of the young man the Levite, even unto the house of Micah, and saluted him. And the 600 men appointed with their weapons of war, which were the children of Dan, stood by the entering of the gate. And the 5 men that went to spy out the land went up, and came in thither, and took the graven image, and the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. And the priest stood in the entering of the gate with 600 men that were appointed with weapons of war. Why did the men steal the idols? The Danites, like Micah, thought they could attain supernatural powers to the false gods. Later, in their new home, they used Micah's idols for their own religious purposes. Verse 18, and these went into Micah's house, and faced the carved image, the ephod, and the teraphim, and the molten image. They said the priest unto them, what do ye? And said unto him, hold thy peace, lay thine hand upon thy mouth, and go with us, and be to us a father and a priest. That is better for thee to be a priest unto the house of one man, or thou be a priest unto a tribe and a family in Israel. And the priest's heart was glad, and he took the ephod and the teraphim and the graven image, and went into the midst of the people. Who was the young priest? Why was the young priest glad? The young Levite, self-serving character is exposed here. He's more than happy to accept the Danites' offer. It appears that the reputation of being the spiritual sage of the entire tribe was referred to that of a single family. His motivation was power and recognition. That seems to be why he left Bethlehem in the first place and agreed to engage in false worship. 21, so they turned and departed and put the little ones and the cattle in the carriage behind them. So the spies recruit Micah's Levite. The law requires that they burn Micah and his shrine to the ground. But what do? Their perspective seems to be that since they are going to take land, they will need a priest and an altar. In some twisted way, they construe the Levite as God's provision. There is even a great promotion for their good friend the priest. The priest was happy in his place among the Danites. Contrast with Numbers 2:17. Verse 22, when they were a good way from the house of Micah, the men that were in the houses near to Micah's house were gathered together and overtook the children of Dan. And they cried unto the children of Dan, and they turned their faces and said to Micah, what aileth thee that thou comest with such a company? And he said, ye have taken away my gods which I have made, and the priests, and ye are gone away. And what have I more? And what is this that ye have said to me? What aileth thee? And the children of Dan said unto him, let not thy voice be heard among us, lest angry fellows run upon thee, and thou lose thy life, and thy lives of thy household. And the children of Dan went their way, and when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back into his house. Michael was a thief and an idolater. In the end, he could not stop his gods from being stolen. The thief was robbed, and the idolater's gods are in the control of the men. And they took the things which Micah had made, and the priests which he had, and came unto Laish, to the people that were at quiet and secure, unto people that were at quiet and secure, and they smote them with the edge of the sword, and burnt the city with fire. Were the Danites right to destroy Laish? What occurred in Laish should never have happened. The Danites had not been overlooked when Joshua originally parceled out the land of Canaan. Dan had been given a section of land between the territories of Ephraim and Judah. Rather than trusting God to help them drive out the Philistines in their allotted territory, the Danites sought an easy way to find themselves a home. They took advantage of an unsuspecting city outside of their territory. Verse 28, and there was no deliverer, because it was far from Zidon, and they had no business with any man. It was in the valley that they lived by Bethrahab, and they built a city and dwelt therein. And they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan their father, who was born to Israel. Howbeit the name of the city was Laish at the first. As with Jericho, the Danites come in and burn the first city of their conquest to the ground. Lord calls for a holy war. In certain cases, whole cities are to be utterly destroyed. People are to represent the Lord's holy fire of judgment. And the children of Dan set up the graven image, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, the son of Manasseh, and he and his sons were priests to the tribe of Dan until the day of the captivity of the land. And they set them up Micah's graven image, and he made all the time that the house of God was in Shiloh. How can Moses' grandson have been involved in idol worship? When there was no prophetic voice clarifying the truth and calling faithful to accountability, the result can be outright heresy. Even Moses' brother had earlier slipped into idolatry during Moses' brief absence while on Mount Sinai. It wasn't that the Israelites intended to reject the Lord, that they just didn't think that it mattered that if they included other gods in their worship. What is the significance of this new priesthood? The descendants of Dan, feeling squeezed out of their land allotment, moved to the far north and claimed a new territory. They recruited Micah's priest to be their own. He was, after all, a Levite. But Jonathan, a Levite and a direct descendant of Moses, led the Danites in idol worship. Their city, renamed Dan, became a center of idolatry and a rival worship center to tabernacle in Shiloh. Any thoughts on this? Just a minute. Okay, Judges 19. And it came to pass in those days when there was no king in Israel, and there was a certain Levite sojourning on the side of Mount Ephraim, who took him a concubine out of Bethlehem, Judah. And his concubine played the whore against him, and went away from him unto her father's house to Bethlehem, Judah, and was there for 4 whole months. And her husband arose and went after her, to speak friendly unto her, and to bring her again, having a servant with him, and a couple of asses, and he brought him unto her father's house. When the father of the damsel saw him, he rejoiced to meet him. Here we have an account of a concubine in this era of culture. In place where polygamy was practiced, the concubine was a second-class citizen, the second wife. Verse 4, and his father-in-law, the damsel's father, retained him. He had been with him 3 days, so they did eat and drink and lodge there. This woman, the Levite's concubine or wife. She probably was the second or later wife who did not enjoy the status of the first wife. The Levite is called her husband, and the woman's father is called the Levite's father-in-law. And it came to pass in the 4th day, when they arose early in the morning, that he rose up to depart, and the damsel's father said unto his son-in-law, comfort thine heart with a morsel of bread, and afterward go your own way. And they sat down and did eat and drink, both of them together. For the damsel's father said unto the man, be content, I pray thee, and tarry all night, and let thine heart be merry. And when the man rose up to depart, his father-in-law urged him, therefore he lodged there again. And he arose early in the morning on the 5th day to depart, and the damsel's father said, comfort thine heart, I pray thee. And they tarried until afternoon, and they did eat both of them. And when the man rose up to depart, he and his concubine and his servant, his father-in-law, the damsel's father, and unto him, said unto him, behold, now the day draweth toward evening. I pray you tarry all night. Behold, the day draweth to an end. Lodge here, and thine heart might be merry. And tomorrow I get you early on your way, and thou mayest go home. But the man will not tarry that night, but he rose and departed, and came over against Jebus, which is in Jerusalem, and there was with him 2 asses saddled. His concubine was also with him. Why did the father-in-law force hospitality on the Levite? In the culture of the ancient Middle East, erotic hospitality was taken very seriously. Quality of hospitality was a reflection of the character of the host. Verse 11, and they were by Jebus, the day was far spent, and the servant said to his father, master, come I pray thee, and let us turn into the city of Jebusites and lodge in it. And the master said to him, we will not turn aside hither unto the city of a stranger, as not the children of Israel. We will pass over to Gibeah. He said to his servant, come and let us draw near one of these places to lodge all night in Gibeah or in Ramah. And they passed on and went their way, and the sun went down upon them when they were in Gibeah, which belonged to Benjamin. And they turned aside thither and go into the land in Gibeah, and he went in and sat down in the street of the city, and there was no man that took them into his house of lodging. And behold, there came an old man from his work out of the field, and even when he was also of Mount Ephraim, and he sojourned in Gibeah, but the men of the place were Benjamites. When he had lifted up his eyes, he saw a wayfaring man in the street of the city, and the old man said, whither goest thou, and whence comest thou? And he said unto him, we are passing from Bethlehem, Judah, toward the side of Mount Ephraim. From thence I am, and I went to Bethlehem, Judah. I am now going to the house of the Lord. And there is no man that receiveth me to house. Yet there is both straw and provender for our asses, and there is bread and wine also for me, and for thy handmaid, and for the young man which is by thy servants. There is no want of anything. And the old man said, peace be with thee. However, let all they want lie upon me, only lodge not in the street. Was it unsafe to spend the night in the square? Apparently, the old man performed the usual duties of a host, as was the custom, providing food, lodging, and he thought safety. David is home to the Levite and his traveling companions to keep the Levites safe from the city's predators. It seemed that neither he nor the Levite considered it his duty to protect the concubine. So he brought him into his house and gave provender unto his asses, and they washed his feet and did not eat and drink. When they finally did receive a single offer, it is not from a citizen of Gibeah, but from an old man transplanted from Ephraim. And they were making their hearts merry. Behold, the men of the city, certain sons of Belial, who set the house around about and be at the door, and spake to the master of the house, the old man, saying, Bring forth the man that came into thine house, that we may know him. And the man, master of the house, went out unto him and said unto them, Nay, my brothers, nay, I pray you, do not stoically, seeing that this man is come into mine house, do not this folly. Behold, here is my daughter, a maiden, and his concubine. Them I will bring out now, and humble ye them, and do with them what seemeth good unto you. Unto this man do not such a vile thing. Why would he sacrifice his daughter to protect a stranger? Influenced by the moral decay of his culture, the old man's priorities were obviously misplaced. Since people of this culture define their values for themselves, they sank as low as human depravity would allow, even as low as the residents of Sodom and Gomorrah, of which the story is reminiscent. The old man's values were so askew that he actually deemed the rape of his daughter a reasonable trade-off for maintaining his culture's standard of hospitality. Verse 25, but the men would not hearken to him. So the man took his concubine and brought her forth unto them, and they knew her and abused her all night until the morning, and when the day began to spring, they let her go. Why was the Levite outraged, since he was partially to blame? He may have believed that he had given his concubine to the men of Gibeah for sexual entertainment, but for nothing more. Thus he reasoned they had abused his generosity by raping and abusing his concubine to death. It seemed they had been thinking only of his safety. He had been thinking only of his safety when he had sent her out there to them in the first place, so it's possible that he was at least partially angry with himself. Nonetheless, he vented his anger on the gang of rapists. Verse 26, then came the woman in the dawning of the day and fell down at the door of the man's house where her Lord was, till it was light. And her Lord rose up in the morning and opened the doors of the house and went out to go his way. And behold, the woman, his concubine, was fallen down at the door of the house, and her hands were upon the threshold. And he said to her, Up, and let us be going. But none answered. And the man took her upon an ass, and the man rose up, and gat him unto his place. And when he come into his house, he took a knife, and laid hold his concubine, and divided her together with her bones into 12 pieces, and sent her into all the coasts of Israel. Why did he mutilate her body? Given the fact that she was already dead, the Levite resorted to this grisly act to evoke a visceral reaction from the surrounding tribes. He hoped to arouse their indignation by graphically illustrating the heinous crime. Verse 30, and it was so, all that saw it said, there was no such deed done nor seen from the day that the children of Israel came up out of the land of Egypt unto his day. Consider of it, take advice and speak your minds. What did the response to the Israelites mean? The first part of their response, such as a thing had never been seen or done, nor since the day the Israelites came up out of Egypt, shows that they took the incident Gibeah to be a horrible crime, the sort that would require severe punishment. The second part of their response, just imagine, we must do something, so speak up. Shows that they knew their retribution would have been well crafted, since punishing a mob or potentially a whole city for a crime was so far more complicated than punishing an individual. Any thoughts on that?
Read that, and it's hard to believe that Thomas was, how he mutilated the lady's body was just overwhelming to me, and can you go into something that, farther than what?
Yeah, it's that's what happens when people take God or take Jesus out of their morals.
Yeah.
And these people like I said, if you're an atheist, you can have morals, but don't deny where the morals come from. You know, that's the thing.
And then when you think of today's time,
Yes.
people it's the same. It's, people take God out of their life, and it's still, it shows that what the devil will do with you, how he can manipulate your mind to
That's
do
right.
things like that is not good,
Well, and this is the same one that is in, verse 2, that she left him and went to her father's house, right? So if she would stay by her husband's side,
Right.
and not went to her father's house, and he had to rise up and go fetch her to get her, I don't think that would have happened. Because she would have been by her husband's side, she wouldn't have been in her father's house. The men would have came.
Yeah, should have had that
She would have
protection.
had protection of her husband.
Yeah.
Alright, yeah, you wanna go ahead and, Judges 20,
You can go ahead.
or? Alright. Or just take a long break. Then all the children of Israel went out, and the congregation was gathered together as one man from Dan even to Beersheba, with the land of Gilead, unto the Lord in Mizpah. And the chief of all the people, even of all the tribes of Israel, presented themselves in assembly to the people of God, 400,000 footmen that drew sword. Now the children of Benjamin heard that the children of Israel were gone to Mizpah. They said, the children of Israel, tell us how was this wickedness. And the Levite, the husband of the woman that was slain, answered and said, I came into Gibeah, and belonged to Benjamin, and I and my concubine to lodge. And the men of Gibeah rose against me, and beset the house round about upon me by night. And thought they had slain me, and my concubine have they forced, that she is dead. And I took my concubine, and cut her in pieces, and sent her throughout all the country of the inheritance of Israel, for they have committed lewdness and folly in Israel. Behold, you are all children of Israel. Give here your advice and counsel. And all the people arose as one man, saying, we will not any of us go into his tent, neither will we any of us turn to his house. And now this shall be and this shall be the thing which we will do to Gibeah. We will go up by lot against it. And we will take men of 100 throughout all the tribes of Israel, and 100 of 1,000, and 1,000 out of 10,000 to fetch victual for the people, that they may do when they come to Gibeah of Benjamin, according to all the folly that they wrought in Israel. 11. So all the men of Israel were gathered against the city, and knit together as one man. And the tribes of Israel sent men through all the tribes of Benjamin, saying, what wickedness is that is done among you? Now therefore deliver us the men, the children of Belial, which are in Gibeah, and we may put them to death, and put away evil from Israel. But the children of Benjamin would not hearken to the voice of their brethren, the children of Israel. But the children of Benjamin gathered themselves together out of the cities unto Gibeah, and out to the battle against the children of Israel. Why did the Benjamites defend the guilty men? Since the law of the land was at the time that everyone did as they saw fit, the Benjamites placed tribal loyalty above bringing the men of Gibeah to justice for their atrocity. And the children of Benjamin were numbered at the time out of the cities 26,000 men that drew sword, beside the inhabitants of Gibeah, which were numbered 700 chosen men. Among all the people, there were 700 chosen men left-handed. Everyone could sling stones at a hairbreadth and not miss. Was left-handedness a virtue? No, but a large number of left-handed soldiers had honed their skills in warfare, especially using the sling. Like Ehud before them, these Benjamites used their left-handedness to an advantage, training themselves in tasks suited to their abilities. In some battle situations, being left-handed was provide the element of surprise. verse 17, and the men of Israel, beside Benjamin, were numbered 400,000 men. They drew the sword. All these men were men of war. While all the rest of Israel was gathered together in Mizpah, a city of Benjamin, the tribe of Benjamin remains absent. An offer of peace is made to them if they will turn over the men who are guilty of raping and killing the woman by the laws of Deuteronomy. But Benjamin refuses and instead prepares for battle. This reveals the hearts of the people of Benjamin that they would fight for those who had victimized the powerless. Verse 18, and the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God and asked counsel of God and said, which of us shall go up first against battle against the children of Benjamin? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up first. And the children of Israel rose up in the morning and encamped around Gibeah. And the men of Israel went out to battle against Benjamin, and the men of Israel put themselves in array to fight against them in Gibeah. And the children of Benjamin came forth out of Gibeah and destroyed down to the ground of the Israelites that day 22,000 men. And the people of the men of Israel encouraged themselves and set their battle again in array in a place where they put themselves in array the first day. And the children of Israel went up and wept before the Lord until even, and asked counsel of the Lord, saying, shall I go up against the battle, begin a battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother? And the Lord said, go up against him. And the children of Israel came near against the children of Benjamin the second day. And Benjamin went forth against them out of Gibeah the second day and destroyed down to the ground of the children of Israel again 18,000 men. All these drew the sword. Why, after gaining God's guidance, did the Israelites lose 40,000 men? Anytime Israelites lost warriors in battle, it was a sign of God's displeasure with them. The mere fact that God had reminded them of their obligation to fight was not a promise of an easy, immediate victory without casualties. They had really been faithful agents of God's judgment in this case. He would predict them and promptly defeat the Benjamites before them. As it was, in their own sins, past and present, stood in the way of their immediate victory, even though they were doing the right thing by taking the battle to the Benjamites. Verse 26, and all the children of Israel and all the people went up and came into the house of the Lord and wept and sat there before the Lord and passed that day until even, and offered burnt offerings and peace of offerings before the Lord. And the children of Israel inquired of the Lord, for the ark of the covenant of God was there in those days. And Phinehas the son of Eleazar the son of Aaron stood before it in those days, saying, shall I yet again go out to battle against the children of Benjamin, my brother, or shall I cease? And the Lord said, go up, for tomorrow I will deliver them into thine hand. Now, verse 29, and Israel set liers in wait around Gibeah, and the children of Israel went up against the children of Benjamin in the third day, and put themselves in array against Gibeah, as at other times, and the children of Benjamin went out against the people, and were drawn away from the city, and they began to smite the people, and kill, said at other times in the highways, which one goeth up to the house of God, and the other in Gibeah to the field of Gibeah in the field by 30 men of Israel. And the children of Benjamin said, they are smitten down before us as at the first, but the children of Israel said, let us flee and draw them from the city into the highways. And all the men of Israel rose up out of their place and put themselves in array at Baltamar. And the liars of the way to Israel came forth out of their places, even out of the meadows of Gibeah. And there came against Gibeah 10,000 chosen men out of Israel, and they battled with sore. They knew not that evil was near them. Why did the Benjamites not know their disaster was? When fighting is light and limited to skirmishes, an army can send up scouts to determine where enemy forces are located and how strong they are, thus assessing the likely direction of events. In this case, the all-out fighting involved virtually every Benjamite warrior, and the life or death urgency of battle kept them from being able to evaluate their overall tactical situation. Thus, they did not understand that they were not winning the battle this time, but were actually on the verge of complete defeat. Verse 35, the Lord smote Benjamin before Israel, and the children of Israel destroyed of the Benjamites that day 20 and 5,000 and 100 men, all these drew the sword. And the children of Benjamin saw that they were smitten, for the men of Israel gave place to the Benjamites, because they trusted unto the lies trusted unto the liars in wait which they had set beside Gibeah. And the liars in wait hasted and brushed upon Gibeah, and the liars in wait drew themselves along and smote all the city with the edge of the sword. And there was an appointed sign between the men of Israel and the liars in wait, and they should make a great flame of smoke rise up out of the city. And when the men of Israel retired in battle, Benjamin began to smite and kill of the men of Israel about 30 persons, for they said, surely they are smitten down before us. Why is this part of the story repeated? In the prior verses, the story is told mainly from the Israelites' point of view. Beginning with those first, we took the story, leave the story again, but this time from the Benjamites' point of view. Verse 40. But when the flame began to rise up out of the city of the pillar of smoke, the Benjamites split behind them, and behold, the flame of the city ascended up to heaven. And when the men of Israel turned again, the men of Benjamin were amazed, for they saw the evil had come upon them. Therefore they turned their backs before the men of Israel into the way of the wilderness, but the battle overtook them, and them which came out of the city they destroyed in the midst of them. Thus they enclosed the Benjamites round about, and chased them, and drove them down with ease over against Gibeah toward the sunrising. Why does the Bible record the details of the battle strategy? Although the Bible does not always give such details regarding the ebb and flow of battle, it is helpful on occasion to see with vivid clarity how things actually occurred. The reality of the biblical history affects us more deeply than when we read stories with such a level of detail. Verse 44, and they fell of Benjamin 18,000 men, all these men were of valor. And they turned and fled toward the wilderness unto the rock of Rimmon, and they gleaned of them in the highways 5,000 men, and they pursued hard after them unto Gideon, and slew 2,000 men of them. So that all which fell that day of Benjamin were 25,000 men that drew the sword, all these were men of valor. The 600 men turned and fled to the wilderness unto the rock of Rimmon, and abode in the rock Rimmon 4 months. And the men of Israel turned again upon the children of Benjamin, and smote them with the edge of the sword, as well the men of every city as the beast, and all that came to hand, and they set all fire, all the cities they gave in. Why did they destroy all but 600 men of the whole tribe of Benjamin, even animals, for the sin of a few? Oh, excuse me. They shouldn't have done this. The president was told that annihilation was found in the Lord's word. To Moses with regard to the worship of false gods, and to Joshua regard the occupation of the land. All right. Any thoughts on this?
I wanted to touch base on verse 18, when it says, and the children of Israel rose and went up to the house of God and asked counsel of God for those who were here for the special warfare special Friday. Do anybody remember the counsel, seeking the counsel of God and asking God his opinion and what he thinks? Because he knows what's going to happen. So they sought the Lord. And we see that in verse 35 it says, and the Lord smote Benjamin. So the Lord answered them and he smote them. Because you can see that in an earlier verse it says Benjamin smote this man, but when the Lord smote somebody. And then you can tell when in verse 41 they realized that evil was upon them because they were taken up for evil. And we can't take up for evil at any time.
That's
because
right.
This is the kind of stuff that happens.
Yes.
Old
As of
Testament,
right
New
now,
Testament,
yes.
it's still happening.
Yeah.
And they turned their backs to run into the wilderness, but see, it overtook them. Sin and evil will overtake you.
Yes.
If you don't repent of it. And in verse 48, we see what happened to the children of Benjamin. Israel overtook them, and Israel got the victory because of God, because they stood on the Lord's side and they wanted evil out from among them.
Amen. Amen.
I should wrap it up for Sunday school.